It's 7 o'clock in the East. Polls have just closed in 6 states. CBS News projects John McCain the winner of Kentucky's 8 electoral votes. Meanwhile, Barack Obama gets the 3 in the state of Vermont. Meanwhile, it looks like a close race in battleground Indiana. Also at this hour, we should tell you South Carolina and the pivotal state of Georgia are still undecided and no decision yet in the very important battleground state of Virginia. It's election night in America on CBS.
Today, I announce my candidacy
for President of the United States.
I accept your nomination
for Vice President of the United States.
Will an African American be our next president or a woman our vice president? Tonight, in our 233rd year of independence, America stands at the doorway of destiny as we, the people, make historic choices for the future of our nation.
Campaign 08, Election Night. From CBS News Election Headquarters in New York, here is Katie Couric.
And good evening, everyone. As we watch the making of the president 2008, there are 10 key states to keep an eye on tonight. As we mentioned, Virginia and Indiana, but also Ohio and North Carolina, where polls close in a half hour, and Missouri, Pennsylvania, and Florida, where polls close at 8 Eastern Time, Colorado and New Mexico at 9, and Nevada at 10. In these states lies a very narrow path to victory for John McCain, but Barack Obama has many ways to win. Now, 4 years ago, President Bush won all of these states except Pennsylvania. Senator McCain needs to take most of them to pull off an upset victory. And the colors of the electoral map may be changing dramatically before our eyes as some traditionally red states turn blue. Bob Schieffer is here along with Jeff Greenfield. And Bob, I guess the big question for a lot of viewers is, why are so many of these red states that went for George Bush in 2004 and 2000 in some cases, why are they up for grabs?
The economy. I think if you just look for one word, one theme that sort of touches all of these states that are now in the up for grab column, as we call them, it's got to be the economy. And this started not just with the recent economic crisis, but in the industrial heartland. Manufacturing jobs being lost, people being out of work, all of that figured in across the way, and people took it out on Republicans. I think people began to be disenchanted with Katrina, and from there it just kept building along the way. And then you have this recent financial crisis, and you have what you have. These states are up for grabs. The fact that Indiana tonight already too close to call. The last Democrat that won there, 1964, that was Lyndon Johnson.
So that's very significant.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, George Bush doesn't have coattails. I mean, people are actually running for cover this time.
George Bush did not appear in public with a single Republican candidate throughout this entire election cycle. In fact, he just basically stayed indoors this last week or so. He just sort of didn't leave the White House.
Meanwhile, Jeff Greenfield, with your map, you can tell us the paths to victory for both candidates.
Right. If you look at the states you've already signaled as key ones, as you say, except for Pennsylvania, all of them went for Bush last time. And you can see John McCain's problem very dramatically this way. If Barack Obama holds Pennsylvania, all he would have to do is win Iowa, where polls say he's way ahead, Colorado, where he's leading, and New Mexico, and that alone puts him over the 270 mark, even if John McCain wins all of those embattled states you talked about, Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, Ohio, and Indiana. Because apart from what Bob talked about, which is a central theme, Barack Obama, by not accepting public financing, has raised $600 million.
This is a CBS News special report. I'm Katie Couric at CBS News Election Headquarters in New York. And we have breaking news, momentous news, really. CBS now estimates, because of victories in California, Washington, Oregon, and Hawaii, CBS projects that Senator Barack Obama of Illinois will be the next president of the United States. He defeats John McCain, the senator from Arizona and Vietnam War hero. And no matter whom you voted for, you'd have to agree this is an incredible milestone in the history of this country. A century and a half after the Constitution abolished slavery and guaranteed blacks the right to vote, 4 decades after the passage of the Civil Rights Act, voters have chosen our first African-American president. Bob Schieffer and Jeff Greenfield, as we watch these dramatic pictures, and with all due respect, I think we probably want to stay on those pictures instead of shots of any of us. I mean, it is so incredible to see these crowds, the culmination of a 2-year campaign and a lot of hopes and dreams of so many Americans.
Katie, this is more than an election night in America. This is a momentous night in the history of our country.
This is the fastest rise to the presidency in more than 100 years. And the fact that the man propelling that rise was 4 years ago a state senator, in his own words, a skinny black kid with a funny name who came from a big city, a place Americans don't pick their presidents from, to ride the mantle of change in one of the more brilliant campaigns anyone has ever seen into the White House, is one for the history books.
In fact, Bob Schieffer, you have covered so many campaigns in your career. Did you ever imagine that you would see an African-American elected to the highest office in the land?
You know, I'm not sure that I ever did. You know, I went to segregated schools in the segregated South. When I graduated from high school, no black student had ever attended any school that I attended. Now, that was in my lifetime. Look where we have come in just less than my lifetime. It's a remarkable evening.
And look at this crowd at Grant Park in Chicago. Cynthia Bowers is somewhere in that sea of very young people, it seems. Cynthia, how's it going there?
It is very, very loud here, Katie. The crowd just erupted. You can still hear the